Hey guys, Game6 here, and I'm back with another video. This is the Mount Lady drawing. If you guys checked out the poll, you guys know this is going to be a monster type drawing. So I'm drawing Mount Lady as a monster girl, or we can go by a real name, Takeyama. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I just looked it up on Google, so I don't actually know the pronunciation. I just know how it's spelled. So, um, for those of you here watching who actually checked out the poll and voted, I thank you for the participation. I'm surprised that I had to make a tiebreaker poll. For those of you who are in my Discord server, you would know about that. I didn't put the link. I do apologize for that. I might have another tiebreaker vote between Nejire and Mikasa. In the description of this video, we'll see, because at the time I'm making this, there is a tie between the two of them. Nejire Haro from My Hero Academia and then Mikasa from Attack on Titan. I've never seen Attack on Titan, so I have no knowledge of it. But I hope you guys enjoy, or I hope you guys are into me having polls for essentially every drawing video. And yeah, um, uh, welcome to the channel if you have never seen a single video of mine before. And then if you have, welcome back. I hope you subscribe, and I hope that you like the art that's going on here. So, if you guys can't tell right now, or not right now, but as you're seeing, this is a different perspective. Usually I'll draw just a normal front-on perspective for all the purely digital drawings. I've usually drawn the face at the same angle, and I've drawn the face at the same angle in this one as well. But yeah, so this is a low angle perspective. I practiced a little bit on paper. I've watched some videos to make sure I got everything down. This didn't turn out perfectly, however, I do think it does communicate the idea. I do think the perspective does communicate who the character is, the reason why I did this. I was going to do this for Habana. If Habana happened to win that tiebreaker vote, it doesn't, because I was using the low angle perspective to represent their personality. In this case, for Mount Lady, I'm representing her quirk. This is a representation, or at least from my perspective, a representation of what she looks like to the average person when she uses her quirk. So you're going to see me fix a few things here, and honestly, at the beginning, I didn't really like how the body was turning out in comparison to when I was practicing this on paper. Well, when I was practicing on paper, I didn't have the leg lifted up. That could be part of the reason. I am proud of the final result, simply because I do think I still communicated the perspective well enough for anyone to understand it. That it's not a normal perspective, and I think it communicates who the character is. Now, like I said, I made this a monster type character, and you're going to see later in the video I turn her into a mummy. So essentially, she's not in her hero costume. So that means it might be a little bit more difficult to recognize. However, the front parts of her hair, I reference that. So if you've seen enough amount of it, you'd recognize the front part of her hair. Since she's not in the hero costume, there's nothing distinguishing about that, unfortunately. So there we have it. So I like the expression I did on the face. I did something different with the eyes. For the sclera, that's the white part of the eye. I think it's called the sclera. It's SCHLERA. So yeah, the sclera. I made it black instead of white. And the reason I searched up the name is because I usually name my layers based on where I'm actually coloring for that layer. So I usually called it eye whites because that part, the sclera, is usually white whenever I'm doing drawings. Actually, yeah, it's always been white for any drawing I've done. In this case, I made it black to further communicate that she isn't human. in this drawing. That is the goal. And also there's a wraps around around most of her body to communicate that idea as well. Yeah, that's what you see in the right. If you guys have seen my videos recently, you essentially know that, okay, when I draw the pose, it's in purple. When I draw basically everything, the body, the hair, basically all the basic body features for that character, so the body itself, the face, and the hair, I draw that in blue. And then I use red to draw the clothing. And then once I get all of those aspects done, then I uh, draw the final line art, which is in straight black. And speaking of that, that's what you're seeing right now. And then you're going to see in a bit that you're going to see me color the sky. I'm not. You guys can let me know whether or not I did a good job on that, but I tried my best. I referenced a couple of pictures to get an idea of the basic color palette for the sky. I also referenced Maki from Fire Force. If you guys have seen Fire Force, if you guys haven't seen it, it's lit. If you guys have seen, you guys know that in some scenes, the characters, whether it's Maki, Shinra, Kusakabe, Arthur, it doesn't really matter who. Sometimes their eyes are glowing, especially if it's especially noticeable if they're in a room with little light. So I kind of wanted to replicate that as best as I could, so I referenced that as well. You're going to see that later on. You're going to see at some point I try to do the glow in the eyes and erase it a couple of times and then I get it right. I also use a reference from my Takeyama to draw some buildings. It didn't turn out as well as it could have because I didn't use the ruler. I just simply hand drew it. If I used the ruler, it could have been a little more precise because with physical buildings, should probably be using straight lines, but you live and you learn. I guess the shading could have been a little more detailed, but I tried my best to with the background. Then again, since the background isn't the main focus, as long as it isn't too derpy, then it shouldn't be that noticeable. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. What else? So that's really all I need to talk about. Someone asked me. Someone asked me in an amino server, not a server, in an amino, whether or not, well, how I do body, how I draw guidelines. I apologize for the cut, but as I was saying, someone asked me how I do my guidelines. I did explain to them, but if you guys want any type of tutorial, we can do that. I do have this screen recorder app, AV screen recorder. I could potentially do a live tutorial. Well, it's obviously still going to be a video, but what I mean by live is it'll be a live commentary. If you guys want that, let me know. Now, keep in mind that I've practiced massively more traditionally than I have doing a purely digital drawing. So if we do that, then alright. If you want the video and I do it, then just keep in mind it might be a little bit of a struggle. So yeah. Let's see. So you guys are seeing the process of me creating the actual buildings. I decided to add some antennas to one of them, but I erased them because I realized it was a trash idea. Honestly, I could have used different colors for the buildings to I don't know, make them look more building-like. Because that pink is just way too pink, honestly. But what's done is done. Well, if you guys want to see the artwork before the video comes out, make sure to check out the Discord, check out Twitter too, because from now on I'm going to be tweeting all my art, and I also tweet random stuff as well. I respond to different tweets, so make sure to check me out on Twitter, because there are some things that I will post or say on Twitter that you'll never see on Discord, and that you'll never hear from me on YouTube. So that's why you should check out the Twitter. So as of now, what I'm doing is I'm adding line variation to the line art to differentiate all the wraps from the actual body, because without the variation in line weight, it could be difficult for someone to see the difference between the actual skin uh, and then uh, the wraps. And as I said before, the wraps are simply to communicate that she's a mummy and uh, not fully human. I mean, her skin and hair remain the same, but everything else is different. And she's not in her hero costume, as I've already explained. So, and that is intentional, because I mean, I could have had the hero costume under everything. That would just kind of be weird if she's supposed to be a mummy. Yeah. So I just didn't, because I don't know. No, it wasn't what I wanted to do. So yeah. So yeah. This we're about to. And that's a reference. I'm just looking at a reference, couple references to figure out what kind of colors I want. The mummy reference to figure out what colors I want for the eyes. Which I had an idea in my mind, but I want to look at some mummy references, so I looked up some mummy references. I also have zombie references. I also have werewolf references, and I also have vampire references, all in Google Drive, because anytime I get stuff that I like, or any kind of reference any kind of thing I want to look back at it again, I put it in Google Drive. That way, it doesn't take up space on my phone or on my tablet, depending on where I'm looking. So, but just to be clear, all pretty much, yeah, all the art done on this channel, almost all of it was done on my phone. I think the only one that I actually did on my tablet was my Mente drawing, and that was back before I did purely digital, so it's still the same process. Luckily, with Ibis Paint, I can there's a feature I can do. I can share the file, like the actual project, and I can upload it to Google Drive. So if I want to work on it on a different device, it's not that hard to do. Yeah. For this drawing, the two things that took the longest to shade, if you guys can't guess, was the skin and the wraps. I think it's pretty obvious why. The skin and the wraps make up the majority of the drawing. So obviously those took the longest to shade. And with my semi-new shading style that I picked up from referencing Simsy's work, which I've mentioned him a multitude of times, you guys have probably heard me say that a multitude of times by now, so I don't need to explain. Just search him up on Twitter, join his server. You won't regret it. So yeah. So yeah, with the new shading style, I do a second level of shading for basically every layer. So any part essentially that I think wouldn't get any sort of light, or would get very little light in comparison to just the general shading, gets this special shading, as you can see here. And I do that for every layer. And also, when it comes to the deep shadows, also, if I put something in shadow, for example, let's say I put her entire face in shadow, hypothetically, and then let's say part of her hair is covering her face, then the shadow, the shape of the shape of the hair, or at least whatever the hair is covering, I would draw a deeper shadow for them. If I had the entire face in shadow, because that area that's being covered by the hair would get less light overall. So that's how I go. So yeah, that's one part of it. Just parts that I think just wouldn't really get exposed to much light. I you guys can see I'm using blue. I generally use blue to do this, to shade everything else. However, I change it because the blue just doesn't look natural. Doesn't give the does not. It just doesn't look like a natural shade. So I adjust it a little bit. And I do the same thing with the hair. Because of how close to white the hair is, I didn't use blue, or I use blue, but I changed the color because it just didn't work. So as you see, yeah, I go with I guess it's kind of like a goldish brown thing. Um, and I simply go with that because I think it gives off the ancient look, and I mean that's the main idea here. She is supposed to be a mummy, so yeah, giving off using that kind of makes the wraps look kind of old. Like the color is good. It doesn't look boring. At least for mine, this doesn't look boring. And then I kind of use a light red for the for the hair. So that's about it. I know I'm all over the place, but for you guys who've seen my videos, you guys know I go all over the place. I never have a specific idea of what I want to talk about. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys later.